Penguin works at fish market. Penguin catches fish all day. Cold water, slippery rocks, very hard work. At the end of the week, Penguin earns 100 fish. Penguin is happy. Penguin waddles home proud. But actually, Penguin only receives 80 fish because Penguin government took 20 fish. This is tax. Basically, it's fish Penguin has to give to Penguin government. Every penguin pays tax in some form, even if they really don't want to. Now, the question is, why do we pay taxes? Because Penguin government needs fish to run the iceberg. They use the fish collected from tax to fund goods and services for every penguin. Things like igloos, hospitals, schools, iceberg police, firefighters, public transport, and even retirement. Without tax fish, iceberg falls apart. No hospitals, no schools, no penguin navy protecting the iceberg from seals. Very bad. So, Penguin pays tax. Penguin doesn't always like it, but Penguin pays. Types of tax. Penguin government can collect fish in many different ways because there are many different types of taxes. Income tax. Penguin government takes fish straight from Penguin's paycheck before Penguin even sees them. Penguin never had a chance. Sales tax. Extra fish charged when Penguin buys a new pair of flippers. Penguin just wanted flippers, now Penguin owes more fish. Property tax. If Penguin buys an iceberg condo, Penguin must pay Penguin government every year just for owning it. Penguin owns the condo, Penguin government owns a piece of Penguin. Capital gains tax. If Penguin sells the iceberg condo for more fish than Penguin paid, Penguin must pay Penguin government a cut of the profit. Penguin made fish, Penguin government wants some fish. Corporate tax. Big penguin businesses also give a percentage of fish they earn. The bigger the business, the more fish they owe, usually. Inheritance tax. If Great Aunt Penguin leaves Penguin a pile of fish when she passes, Penguin must pay tax on those fish. Penguin didn't earn them, doesn't matter. Tax fish. Environmental tax. Penguin corporations that dump waste into the Arctic water pay higher tax. Iceberg melting is bad for everyone. Even Penguin government understands this. Luxury tax. A tax on expensive items for penguins that can afford more fish than they need. Gold-plated flippers, diamond fish hooks. Penguin knows who they are. Tariffs. A tax on imported goods from other Arctic animal countries. Polar bear exports walrus jerky into penguin territory. Penguin government charges extra fish at the border. Polar bear is not happy. Trade war begins. Tax brackets. So how many fish should Penguin actually pay? It depends on how many fish Penguin earns. The more fish Penguin earns, the more tax Penguin pays, most of the time. These are called tax brackets. But penguins make a very common mistake when looking at tax brackets. If Penguin earns 100,000 fish, Penguin thinks they owe 22% tax. That's 22,000 fish, right? Wrong. The first 10,000 fish Penguin earns, Penguin pays zero tax. Zero. Nothing. Free fish zone. The next 40,000 fish Penguin earns, Penguin pays 12% tax. That is 4,800 fish. The last 50,000 fish Penguin earns, Penguin pays 22% tax. That is 11,000 fish. So, Penguin's total tax is 15,800 fish, not 22,000. Penguin only pays 22% on that top bracket, not on every single fish Penguin caught. This is very important. Most penguins don't know this. Now, Penguin knows. How is tax collected? If Penguin works for someone else, Penguin government automatically takes fish from Penguin's paycheck. Penguin never even touches those fish. They are gone before Penguin gets home. But if Penguin owns a business or works as a freelance fish sculptor, Penguin must tell Penguin government how many fish they earned that year, so Penguin government can tax them the correct amount. Penguin must prepare and file all this information into something called a tax return. How to do a tax return? Step 1. Penguin counts how many fish they made that year. Penguin's employer should have tracked this and sent Penguin the total. This is called an income statement. Very important document. Do not lose it under the ice. Step 2. Penguin finds out how much tax was already taken from their paycheck throughout the year. Employer tracks this too. Penguin just needs the number. Step 3. Deductions. This is the important one. Deductions are work-related expenses Penguin paid for out of their own fish. Things Penguin needed specifically for work. Fishing equipment, special waterproof uniform, training courses on advanced ice navigation, travel expenses for the annual Arctic Fish Conference, donations to the Penguin Charity for Sad Seabirds. Personal expenses don't count. Penguin cannot claim the krill smoothie they had for breakfast. Penguin cannot claim the Netflix subscription, and Penguin cannot claim the gold-plated fish hook just because Penguin used it once at a work dinner. It doesn't work like that. Step 4. Penguin sends all this information to Penguin Government. Penguin Government looks at how many fish Penguin made, how much tax Penguin already paid, and subtracts any legitimate work-related deductions. Then Penguin Government gives you the result. If Penguin underpaid tax throughout the year, Penguin must pay the remaining fish. If Penguin overpaid tax, Penguin Government sends a tax refund. Free fish arriving in Penguin's account. Penguin is briefly happy again. Tax audit. If Penguin makes suspicious deductions or hides extra fish income from Penguin Government, Penguin may get audited. A tax audit is Penguin Government double-checking all of Penguin's numbers. They only usually do this when something doesn't add up, or when Penguin claims 47 gold-plated fish hooks as work expenses. Everything looks fine here. Wait, what is this written in tiny letters at the bottom? Why is it so small? Penguin, why did you write this so small? What happens if Penguin doesn't pay taxes? Nothing. Nothing at all. First comes a warning letter. Very polite, very firm. Then Penguin Government charges interest. Now Penguin owes more fish than before. Then Penguin Government tries to forcibly take fish directly from Penguin's accounts. Then, if Penguin still refuses, Penguin Government takes Penguin to prison. Cold prison. No fish. Penguin deeply regrets everything. Who doesn't pay taxes? Some penguins don't pay taxes. Unemployed penguins. Penguins that don't earn enough fish to reach the minimum threshold. Baby penguins. Penguin charities. Penguin religious groups that worship the great fish in the sky. But almost every penguin pays some form of tax at some point in their life. There's no escaping the AFCA. How rich penguins avoid high taxes.
Rich penguins have options that regular penguins don't. They can own icebergs, rare fish collections, or Arctic real estate. When they sell, it's taxed as capital gains, which is much lower than income tax. In fact, capital gains tax is roughly half of what regular penguins pay on their income. Very convenient for penguins with many icebergs. If rich penguin owns stock in a fish corporation and that stock pays dividends, those dividends are also taxed at a lower rate. Rich penguin keeps catching fish while paying fewer fish to Penguin Government. System working exactly as rich penguin designed it. Rich penguins also use something called negative gearing. Rich penguin buys an iceberg condo, rents it to smaller penguins, but the condo costs more to maintain than it earns in rent. Rich penguin is technically losing fish, but that loss becomes a deduction on their tax return. Rich penguin pays less tax while waiting for the condo to increase in value, then sells it for enormous profit, pays capital gains tax instead of income tax. Penguin Government gets a smaller slice, rich penguin gets a bigger iceberg. Taxes in different Arctic zones. Not all penguin territories pay the same amount of tax. Some of the highest tax rates in the Arctic world are in Scandinavia at 57%, certain European territories at 55%, and the Southern Hemisphere at 45%. Some of the lowest are in tropical offshore islands at 0%, Dubai at 0%, and the deep Arctic wilderness at 0%, mainly because no penguins live there, just ice and one very confused polar bear. History of taxes. Taxes have existed since the beginning of organized penguin society. Ancient penguins paid taxes in actual fish to their fish pharaohs. No metaphor, literal fish, handed over in baskets. Tax has always been controversial. In fact, the earliest recorded penguin tax protest was a group of fishing penguins who dumped a cartload of herring into the Arctic Sea rather than hand them to the government. This is considered the origin of the Great Herring Party. Historians are still divided on whether this was brave or just very wasteful. How to make tax less terrifying.
This is not financial advice. Please do not sue Penguin. If Penguin wants to make taxes easier and avoid accidentally going to prison, Penguin should track all expenses throughout the year. Keep receipts, build a simple budget, note anything that could qualify as a work-related deduction. Do not wait until the last week of the tax year to find all this information. Penguin will regret it. But if Penguin just wants to catch fish and not think about any of this, Penguin can hire a Penguin tax accountant. These penguins specialize in tax returns. They know every rule, every deduction, every loophole. And in many cases, their fees are themselves tax deductible. Penguin paying a fish to save more fish. This is called smart finance. There's only two guarantees in life: death and taxes. And fish. Mostly fish. Hopefully, Penguin now understands tax. If Penguin wants to learn more about Arctic economics, check out Penguin's other videos. And remember, flippers together, colony strong.